the bling thing. Not because you're interested in their history either, because you're not. You just want to make the man you're with feel inadequate. And you will. Underneath that clock you'll find a door. When you go through that door you will see the world's largest perpendicular diamond at 530 carats. Don't compare your engagement rings to the Star of Africa. You'll also see what is largely regarded as the world's most beautiful diamond, Koh-i-Noor, literally the mountain of light, the light of India. And as their name suggests, we've stolen them from everywhere. Although Her Majesty's government insists, I tell you, that they were given to us by grateful nations. This was usually at gunpoint. The White Tower today, lads, you get to see the armour of the king. Shield, lance, sword, bayonet, rifle, pistol, musket, cannon, mortars, big boys' toys. They're all on display in the White Tower. And you can't wait to get in there, can you? But I'm going to give you a warning now, lads. In there, you are going to feel woefully, woefully inadequate at a very personal level. Check out Henry VIII's armour. Now, you'll know what I mean when you see it, but I consider it a duty to warn you that those copies are an early foray into psychological warfare. Now, some of you are very young. Nearly all of you, I suspect, are civilians and don't know anything about psychological warfare, so I'm now going to give you a quick lesson. Don't worry. I am not going to mess with your fragile little mind.
I've already done that.
Do you all see my head? Do you all see my head?
Yes.
You all see the hat?
Yes.
Psychologically, my head does not go to the top, but it is your natural assumption that it does. In your mind, I am now taller and arguably more fierce than I really am. You okay? Okay. Well, check this out. Look at the codpiece. Think of the hat. This is very important for you young boys because it's going to matter in a few years. Alright? Remember this lesson. Save you a fortune and a lot of pain. Alright. In the White Tower today you will see all of the armour of the kings and that like, but at the bottom is the torture chamber. It remains a torture chamber to this day. It is a gift shop now. Right. Although my employer, I tell you, that shopping in our gift shop is a happy and pleasant experience. And there we have the Queen's house. It was built as a wedding present for Anne Boleyn, and the works commenced on that in 1533, the year of the wedding. It was completed in 1541, 5 years after her. This is now the home of the Constable of the Tower of London and his family. It is being guarded today by soldiers, and Iberian soldiers, at the Scots Guard. He's there in his famous red tunic and bearskin hat. His head doesn't go to the top either. Be advised that some of these young men have recently returned from combat operations in Afghanistan. Some of them will shortly go back there. The weapon you see is large. It is the standard British rifle with bayonet. Do not upset the soldier! Got that?
Yes.
Got it?
Yes.
They do deserve your respect. Now, the Canadians from Canada that are here, I'd like you to look again at the bearskin. You may know him. Bearskins are called bearskins because they're made from bearskins. Yeah, real bears. It's true. I don't make this stuff up. We did try with artificial stuff, synthetic fibres. This was tried in the late 70s. The great quality of a proper bearskin is that when it gets wet, all the soldier has to do is shake his head like that, and it is dry. When the synthetic ones got wet, he shook his head, and it became punk rock. I am sure that the punk revolution of the late 70s was based on the synthetic bearskin hat, but we will never know. The bears are culled every year by the government of Canada. The bears no longer need the skins, they're dead, so they are put to use making new skins. If the bears weren't culled, Canada would be overrun by bears and you wouldn't have maple syrup anymore. On the upside, you can have Celine Dion either. Anyway, there we go. Now, this is Tower Green, colour coded, it's grass. I have to explain that because a lot of people spend an hour or so looking for a green tower. These people are Europeans. Europeans are lovely people, but they have syntax problems and talk like Yoda. So, Tower Green.
Grass? Helps you out with that, I have.
Hopefully that's cleared that up for you. You can visit the beaching tower. An arch window there lets light into a chamber, the walls of which are covered with graffiti. Some of that graffiti is nearly 500 years old. Graffiti is not a new problem. Modern art is a new problem. This monstrosity, not you. Perspex, granite, tubular steel is a monument to traitors and mutineers and should not exist. Traitors and mutineers are scum. They don't deserve such monuments. This is the site of the private execution statue. And it was here that Henry VIII had two of his wives beheaded. Many husbands bring their wives back to admire this. The first of these was, of course, Queen Anne Boleyn. She was Henry VIII's second wife. His first wife was the beautiful Catherine of Aragon, a Spaniard. And they were happily married for 17 years. Actually married for 23 years. The last 6 years were made miserable by the fact that she could not produce a son. She'd given him a daughter, but that wasn't good enough. Really is. So he divorced her. He married Anne Boleyn. Like Catherine, she gave him a daughter and could not give her a son. But she did try hard. Really hard, and not just with Henry. Now, I don't care what your romantic, sentimental attachment might be to the myth of Anne Boleyn. I don't want to know if your only glimpse into history is the Tudors DVD. And please don't tell me that you were Anne Boleyn in some previous incarnation. On average, I meet 3 of you a year. You can't all be wrong. You're not special, you're sick. Delusional. Get help. Anne Boleyn should not be admired, copied nor emulated in any way. She was found guilty of adultery with 7 men, including her brother. Now, you're married to the king, that's treason. And I don't care who you're married to, it's excessive and weird. But not for her, the block and She went out French fashion with a 2-handed sword. On the 19th of May, 1536, she knelt there praying for forgiveness. The Frenchman took off her head with just one stroke with a sharp sword. And it was a beautiful job. She didn't know she was dead. The public record for her execution tells us that when her severed head was lifted from the straw, the select audience gasped in amazement and horror. Brilliant. The rest of you were feeble. Gasped in amazement and horror. Right. It had been so swift that when her head came up, they were horrified to see her eyes continued to gaze around at the faces in the crowd. And for quite some time after the next big move, the lips continued to move. Now isn't that just like a woman? Last word, last word, last word. Quiet. Think she'd take the hint? Nope. She was so convinced she was going to get a reprieve that no arrangement had been made for a funeral, and there was no coffin. Anne Boleyn, Queen of England, and obviously quite a bit shorter now, had to be stuffed inside a humble arrow box. And that arrow box lies inside this chapel. She's in good company. Next to her is Queen Catherine Howard, Henry VIII's 5th wife, also guilty of adultery and also executed on this site. I have more sympathy with her. Teenager when her father and family forced her to marry the king, who by now was 51 years old and morbidly obese. Ulcerating wounds on his legs which stank and would not heal, indicating diabetes. Well done, yeah. Which in those days could not be treated. This may explain his legendary bad tempers. It may also explain why Catherine was being treated for bruising for several months. The apothecary's notes of the time still exist. They're in the National Archive. They also tell us that Henry VIII suffered from a variety of diseases that today would respond well to penicillin. So it is quite clear that there was no love in the marriage. She felt abandoned and betrayed by her family, so she sought comfort outside and she had an affair. She got caught. She admitted her adultery, but here on the scaffold went a stage further and proclaimed it. I died the Queen of England, she said. I'm ready. Much rather would I have lived and died as the humble wife of the only man to have truly loved me, Thomas Culpeper. She probably shouldn't have said that. Thomas Culpeper certainly thought so. He was hanged, drawn and quartered for his part in the affair. 4 months later, Catherine was beheaded, and then Henry had quicklime put into her casket. That was sick. It doesn't seem a big deal these days, but quicklime turned her body to sludge. In the modern era, we destroy the body, we cremate people, but not back then. It was one of the tenets of the Christian faith in Tudor times that you needed a body in order to rise from the dead on the day of judgment. Henry had effectively denied Catherine an afterlife, and more importantly, denied God the ability to judge her. And when the public had found out about this, they were terrified. And you should not be terrified of your king. Your king is there for your protection. Your king, your queen, your president, they're your servants, not the other way round. They should be scared of you. Henry VIII had become the tyrant that Sir Thomas More, who we spoke about at the Bell Tower, had predicted he would become. Saint Thomas More also lies inside the chapel. Now the chapel remains a place of Christian worship, so gentlemen, do as I do and remove your headdress before you go inside. If you have a mobile phone, switch it off. If it goes off inside the chapel, God strikes you down dead. Maybe not today, but it'll get you in the end. Now, for reasons of Crown copyright, there can be no photography or video recording, but for those of you making a video, on me.
Hello.
Zoom in.
Very nice. Lovely.
They all died in the end. Bit of closure for you there. Now, as we go through the